Today we're looking at the state of British politics.
A living income.
Asking is technology ruining football?
Are we too obsessed with our phones?
Too simplistic. That is not how the world
wants to know.
Thank you for explaining.
My view is he why prices keep going up.
Whatever side
So,
you're
Rach,
on,
did you know
Parliamentary democracy does matter.
the conversation
The world is
starts
fast-moving
here.
and can be confusing.
So let's
Politics
talk about
Live, today at
5 Live
12:15 on
Breakfast
BBC
with
Two
Rachel and Rick.
iPlayer.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Be aware you're in bed.
People are travelling again, heading back out on the road and rediscovering their wanderlust.
Exploring new destinations and cultures, making fresh friends, and creating memories that will last a
Race across the
lifetime.
world
That's
continues
why at the
Wednesday at
Travel
9
Show,
on BBC
we're
One
expanding
and
our
iPlayer.
horizons too. And wherever we go, we want you
For your final
with us.
task, I'd
Now,
like you to launch
for an awful lot
your
of
new
excess
business.
I'm not
baggage
selling
that
fitness,
we
I'm selling
think
feelings.
all worth it.
Morning
The
might be
Travel
a
Show,
boxer, but
Saturday
I'm a
at
fighter.
10:30 on the
Now
BBC
it's
News
quiz
channel.
time.
You
It was
are
the
going to be
war
my
that was
business
never
partner.
going to happen.
The Apprentice, the final, tonight at 9 on BBC One and iPlayer.
The invasion that shook the world.
I just can't imagine living in the
Anton
world
and Gio
without
have swapped the
Ukraine.
ballroom
I can't
for
imagine
sunny
that.
Sicily.
Fight back.
I want to see where you
By surprise.
The big question now.
But you know what they say, what goes on in Sicily
She's madly in love with you.
The war in
doesn't strictly
Ukraine 1 year
stay
on.
in
For the
Sicily.
stories
Of course
and
I'll have a
analysis,
family one day.
watch on BBC iPlayer.
Father, this is just the beginning.
Anton and Giovanni's Adventures in Sicily. Press red for all episodes on BBC iPlayer.
I'm back on the hunt for the UK's next top food and drink entrepreneur.
I'm so ready for this.
I'm going unfaded.
I want to invest £150,000 of my own cash into one of them.
Action.
And catapult their business to the next level.
Winning this competition would literally change my life.
I'm not giving the money away easily. They'll need to earn it. So if anyone can't give me a standard, then please go home.
This one is a mess.
Do not let me down.
Gordon Ramsay's Future Food Stars returns next Thursday at 9 on BBC One and iPlayer.
Good morning, it's almost 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of March, and this is BBC One.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie Stayt and Naga Munchetty.
Our headlines today. Fighting for his political career, Boris Johnson swears he didn't lie to Parliament over Partygate.
Good morning. Is the cost of borrowing set to rise again? The Bank of England is expected to increase interest rates later today after food prices caused inflation to climb unexpectedly. I'll have the details.
Back to school, the head teacher whose life was saved by the defibrillator he bought to protect his pupils.
Good morning. Late drama in the race to buy Manchester United. There's confusion as the two main bidders ask for more time and get the deadline extended, while several new suitors do get bids in.
And it's sunshine and showers across the UK once again. Quite blustery too, particularly for England and Wales. I'll have all the details right here on Breakfast.
Good morning, it's Thursday the 23rd of March. Our main story this morning. Boris Johnson's political future hangs in the balance after he was questioned by MPs investigating whether he misled Parliament over lockdown parties in Downing Street.
During a 3-hour session, the former Prime Minister repeatedly denied lying to the Commons about events at Number 10 and insisted that he believed at the time the gatherings were necessary for work purposes. Our political correspondent Helen Catt has more.
And those are the main stories at 13 minutes past 6. You want to know about the weather? Matt's the man who's got the information for us. And what a beautiful place that is behind you, Matt.
Morning.
It is. Good morning. Yeah, west of Scotland yesterday. You can see a bit of a rainbow there on the distance. A sign of showery conditions, which we'll have again today. Another day of fairly changeable weather. Of course, we head towards British summertime. And for one or two of you, it'll feel a bit more like British wintertime. I'll have more on that in half an hour. Back to you both.
Well, that's not exactly a nice note to finish on, is it?
It's spring. You get a little bit of everything, don't you?
Well, not winter.
Just laying the ground out, just to warn you.
Okay.
That we stay mild forever.
No, okay, we'll be warned. Thanks very much, Matt.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Matt. 6:15 is the time now. So we will be finding out later if the Bank of England plans to further increase the cost of borrowing by raising interest rates.
Currently at 4%. Hannah, what we've had is a bit of a history. If you look around the world, there have been moves, haven't there, around the United States, the European Central Bank, and plus we had that inflation figure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they hear this, think, why make it even harder for us? It's tough already. But let's run through some of the reasons. It's a tricky balancing act for the Bank of England at the moment. Last month, they predicted that the rate at which prices are rising had peaked. But of course, yesterday we learned that inflation unexpectedly rose to 10.4% in February, a near 40-year high. The spike was driven by soaring food prices, which are now rising quicker than at any time in the last 45 years. And it means the UK has the highest inflation of all the major economies in the so-called G7, the only one still in double figures. Now, in order to keep a lid on those rising prices, the Bank of England often chooses to increase the cost of borrowing in order to discourage us all from spending. The current base rate is at 4%, and it's gone up 10 times in a row since December 2021. Worth saying, Naga and Charlie, as well, that the Bank of England have been putting up these rates since December 2021. A lot of people already feeling it, as we've heard there, in their pockets, but the effect on the economy probably take time to come through. We might only see that in the next couple of months.
Hannah, thanks very much.
So let's take a moment this morning, have a look at some of the papers for you. And maybe no surprise, a lot of them leading on the question of Boris Johnson by MPs yesterday. Let's look first at the Daily Telegraph, describing Mr Johnson as defiant. Says the former Prime Minister dismissed allegations against him as complete nonsense.
Flimsy Partygate answers leave Johnson on the brink. That's how The Guardian reports it, adding that he could be formally reprimanded if he's found to have recklessly misled Parliament.
And we get The Sun choosing to lead with Prince William's visit to Poland, where we know he met British troops close to the border with Ukraine. The Prince told them they were defending our freedoms from Putin's Russia.
And one of the most read stories on the BBC News website this morning features the US court case involving Gwyneth Paltrow. The Hollywood star is being sued by a retired doctor over a skiing collision which took place in 2016. The actress is countersuing in a trial expected to last until next week.
And just on the inside pages, this page, you'll probably see the picture there, which is actually not what I'm talking about, but this is the US President giving Bruce Springsteen the National Medal of Arts at the White House. So that was a special moment. This is about baguettes, and it's a row going on in France about a lot of people now wanting their baguettes, what the bakers say is undercooked, so they're still doughy in the middle. And French bakers are saying...
So they can put them in the oven and warm them up?
No. As in, when people buy them from the shop, a lot of people are asking that the baguettes are what the bakers say is undercooked. They're blaming the US for this, saying in America they like their bread more doughy, white bread doughy, and traditionally they say that French baguettes are crisper and you don't have that gooey dough in the middle. So there's a big row going on, but I didn't know that the issue emerged last month when Sebastian Thomas, who's a television news anchor, tweeted a photograph of a well-cooked baguette next to an undercooked one. OK, so he was on TV and he sent out this tweet and he said the well-cooked baguettes was obviously much better, added he was prepared to fight a duel with anyone who thought otherwise.
With the baguettes?
That's dedication, isn't it?
With the baguettes.
Apparently it gives you flatulence to eat undercooked baguettes. That's the scientists and nutritionists say that's a fact.
Undercooked food's not good. It's 23 minutes past 6. Now, if you're a regular viewer of Breakfast, you'll know that we've been following the work of Mark King. Now, Mark has spent the last 11 years getting heart defibrillators installed in schools in memory of his son, Oliver. Oliver died of a cardiac arrest, aged just 12.
So, this week, Mark returned to one primary school where his foundation had already fitted a defibrillator, and it was for a very special assembly.
The children had gathered to welcome back their head teacher, Nick Sheeran, because 7 months earlier he'd suffered a heart attack in school, and his life was saved by some quick-thinking colleagues and, of course, the defibrillator. John Maguire has more. I can only imagine how emotional that was, that reunion, and how loved is Mark for doing what he did. And then you've got Nick, who was completely loved by his pupils.
Absolutely. But as he said, he's the luckiest head teacher in the world. And we've met Mark a number of times in this programme, delighted to say, and we always ask the same thing, what will be success for you? And that's just that, isn't it? It's that moment in time.
68 so far. It's coming up to 6:30. How do you feel about a noise like this? Is that supposed to be snoring?
Who was it? Do we know who that was? Is it someone involved in this programme?
No, apparently
it's a generic
just
snore,
an
is
effect.
it?
Perhaps you find it mildly annoying, or it may trigger a stronger reaction. If it makes you angry, disgusted, even panicked, you may have a condition called misophonia, which afflicts around 1 in 5 of us, according to a new study. We're going to talk to one of the researchers at 10 to 9.
Thing is, it's not just very important point. It's not just snoring we're talking about.
No,
it's
it
a kind of it's everyday noises that people make that you find disproportionately annoying or anything like that. That could be one of them.
It's really annoying. And loud breathing, chewing, perhaps it affects you. Let us know the noises you can't stand. You can email, tweet us, you can send us a message on WhatsApp. The number is 0330 123 0440. Or you can scan, if you get up to the screen, scan the QR code with your phone's camera. And of course, when you do send that message, don't forget to tell us your name and where you're from.
Are we asking for examples of the noise? Have we have a means by which we can hear the noise?
Well,
is it just
they can send a message on WhatsApp, but we don't need to hear it. Just tell us.
That makes it more interesting, doesn't it?
It does.
Albeit more revolting. Time now to get the news, travel and the weather where you are.
What's your noise?
Good morning from BBC London. I'm Victoria Hollins. The NHS is to start a new polio vaccination campaign in London schools for under 11s over fears that uptake is still lagging behind the rest of the country. And so to the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Good morning. It's a dry and bright start this morning with some sunshine, but it is going to be another unsettled day where we're likely to wake up to a frost on Monday morning.
OK, that's it. So do have a look at our website for all the latest news, and we will see you in half an hour. Bye for now.
Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie Stayt and Naga Munchetty.
Time now is 6:34. Westminster saw a return yesterday to a familiar topic, the parties or gatherings, work events, which were held at Downing Street during the COVID pandemic, and whether the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson knew they breached lockdown rules.
He was questioned for 3 hours by a committee of MPs, often whilst being shown images of himself surrounded by colleagues during events he defended as essential.
Well, let's discuss some of what was said yesterday. The founder of Conservative Home, Tim Montgomery, is with us this morning. Morning to you, Tim, along with Hannah Brady from the COVID-19 bereaved Families for Justice. Hannah, very good morning to you. I'm going to start with you, if we may. You're one of those many people who lost a loved one during the pandemic. And I really appreciate you coming in to see us once again. Thank you so much. And Tim Montgomery from Conservative Home, thank you very much for your time this morning, Tim.
6:43 is the time. Mike has a lot to talk about this morning when it comes to the sport. Morning, Mike.
Yeah, it was a busy night. Thanks very much. Good morning. First of all, Manchester United fans are on tenterhooks again as there's new confusion over who the club's new owners might be, if indeed the Glazer family do end up selling. Because the race to buy the club was blown wide open late last night. For so long, it looked as though the new investment would come from either the Qatari banker, Sheikh Jassim, or indeed the Ineos owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, both with reported world record bids believed to be in the region of £5 billion. Final set deciding wins already this year alone, so maybe that just took its toll. One fight back too far for Murray, it seems.
It's just his MO at the moment, Mike. Thanks very much. Speak to you later.
Let's take a moment and have a look at the weather with Matt. How's it looking, Matt?
Lovely start for some at the moment, Charlie. Here we've got East Lothian in the east of Scotland, but there are some downpours around right now, some of those heavy and thundery, and a few more to come through the day. Quite windy once again, this time though mainly for England and Wales. Or snow. That's how it's looking. Naga, Charlie, back to you.
Matt, thanks so much for that. Speak to you later.
Bye-bye.
6:49. Couples intending to separate could be forced to try to settle their financial and childcare arrangements without going to court.
The government wants to introduce a mandatory mediation sessions for families in England and Wales before any court hearing. Let's take you through some of the figures. Now, in 2021, more than 113,000 divorces were granted in England and Wales. That's nearly 10% more than the previous year. The new system could help up to 19,000 separating families resolve their issues away from the courtroom, which would decrease the backlog of cases which family courts are dealing with.
It would also reduce the number of children witnessing their parents going through a lengthy legal dispute, which can lead to anxiety, depression and antisocial behaviour. Well, let's talk about this more now with Joanne Edwards, who's a family lawyer and a mediator. A very good morning to you.
Morning.
So mandatory mediation, you would have to do it before being granted a divorce.
Thank you. We'll be back with the headlines at 7. It's worth pointing out, though, that we're going to be talking to the best-selling author Harlan Coben later this morning. He's sold 80 million books worldwide. His thrillers have been adapted for the screen. His fans include Bruce Springsteen. He's just released his 35th novel. And he's got loads to talk to us about. So he'll be joining us just after 9 o'clock.
Time now to get the news, travel and the weather where you are.
Good morning from BBC London. I'm Victoria Hollins. The NHS is to start a new polio vaccination campaign in London schools for under 11s over fears that uptake is still lagging behind the rest of the country. And that takes us to a check on the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Good morning. It's a dry and bright start this morning with some sunshine, but it is going to be another unsettled day where we're likely to wake up to a frost on Monday morning.
That'll be a shock. OK, that's it. Do have a look at our website for all the latest news, or of course the BBC News app as well. And we will see you in half an hour. Bye-bye.
Let me see you.
And so it begins.
The Earth is a big place, Pip. I will teach you.
Teach me what?
The wicked ways of this wicked city.
Great Expectations starts Sunday at 9 on BBC One and iPlayer.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie Stayt and Naga Munchetty.
Our headlines today. Fighting for his political career, Boris Johnson swears he didn't lie to Parliament over Partygate.
Good morning. Is the cost of borrowing set to rise again? The Bank of England is expected to increase interest rates later today after food prices cause inflation to climb unexpectedly. I'll have the details.
We'll hear from the terror attack victims who still aren't receiving the compensation they're entitled to.
Good morning. Fresh confusion in the race to buy Manchester United as the two main bidders ask for more time and get the deadline extended, while several new suitors do get their bids in on time.
Race across the world, we'll meet the dad and daughter taking part in hit TV series, making their way across Canada. No phone, no flights, and very little cash.
And of course, I'll have the weather for you, which again is a day of sunshine and showers. Windiest today, though, for England and Wales. I'll have all the details here on Breakfast.
Good morning. It's Thursday, the 23rd of March. Boris Johnson's political future hangs in the balance after he was questioned by MPs investigating whether he misled Parliament over lockdown parties in Downing Street.
During a 3-hour session, the former Prime Minister repeatedly denied lying to the Commons about events in Number 10 and insisted that he believed at the time the gatherings were necessary for work purposes. Our political correspondent Helen Catt has this report. Nick, thanks very much.
Cost of borrowing money is expected to rise again this afternoon. That's when the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee will make an announcement.
Yes, and Hannah's with us this morning. People are struggling quite a bit at the moment, as we well know, so they might well ask themselves, why now? Why raise interest rates again just when things are difficult?
Yeah, it is, of course, a really tricky balancing act. The idea, the principle, is that raising interest rates makes it more expensive for us all to borrow. That means we effectively have less money to spend, and in theory, that would bring prices down. The Bank of England knows that times are tough, that is a difficult message for people. They argue simply that rising prices, them continuing to go up and up and up, poses an even bigger danger. We often follow what they tend to do, so it is looking likely that this might happen again today.
Hannah, thank you.
Planned rail strikes in March and April have been called off.
Yes, the RMT union members who work at 14 train companies were set to walk out on Thursday and Friday of next week. The rail delivery group, which represents train companies, welcomed the move and said it's now focusing on working constructively towards a settlement.
A Scottish parliamentary committee has found serious failings in the way a contract to build 2 ferries was awarded. Among the problems identified by the panel was the decision of the Scottish First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, to prematurely announce the shipyard. Ferguson's as the preferred bidder. The committee said taxpayers and island communities had been badly let down by the project.
Investigators are trying to work out what caused a ship to tip over in Edinburgh, injuring 35 people, 8 of whom remain in hospital.
The research vessel Petrel was in dry dock in Leith when it became dislodged from its holding and slipped to a 45-degree angle. Let's talk to our Scotland correspondent, James Shaw, who is there. James, good morning to you. And obviously, as this happened, I think it was around 8:30 yesterday morning, we were hearing about it as the hours went on, and more people kind of emerging as injured. OK, James, I know you'll keep us updated as well. James Shaw there, thank you.
The head of the social media app TikTok is expected to give evidence to the US Congress today over security concerns. Shou Ji-chu is likely to face a barrage of questions on TikTok's relationship with the Chinese state, what data it collects and what it does with it. The app has already been banned on government-owned devices in the US and the UK and many EU states due to privacy and security concerns.
The Prince of Wales has visited British troops near the Ukrainian border. Prince William is on an official 2-day visit to Poland, which continues today when he meets the Polish president. His trip to meet the troops in the southeast was kept secret for security reasons until he returned to Warsaw.
Let's look at some of the main stories. 13 minutes past 7 on a Thursday morning, and Matt's got bright skies over Norwich. Look at that.
I have indeed. Morning, Charlie. Naga. Very morning to you as well. Blue skies for some of you already this morning. Do not be fooled, though, because they won't last all day long for everyone. And if you're about to step out the door, probably best to have something waterproof just in case, because it'll be a day where heavy and thundery, but changes afoot this weekend, set to get a bit chillier, particularly on Sunday. Charlie, Naga, back to you both.
Matt, thanks so much. We'll speak in about half an hour.
See you then.
7:15 the time. No amount of money can undo the trauma of being caught up in a terror attack or bring back a loved one, but it can cover the bills for victims who can no longer work or pay for therapy or even funerals.
This programme's been told that the government's compensation scheme is broken. The campaign group Survivors Against Terror says the process is stressful, demeaning, and that it magnifies the initial pain of the attack.
Jamie Cullen has been speaking to 3 terrorism survivors about their experiences.
Well, we're joined now by Paul, who's back on the sofa with us. Paul Price, you saw him in Jane's piece. Morning, Paul.
Good morning.
And also Brendan Cox, who co-founded Survivors Against Terror following the murder of his wife, the MP Jo Cox, by a far-right extremist. Brendan, morning to you.
Morning.
Paul, the first time you were on the sofa, which was only one other time before, it was, as you say, through that, in that report by Jane, through almost desperation. And you're, of course, talking about Elaine.
Yes.
Paul, thank you very much for coming in. And thank you for those, on behalf of those who are still fighting as well. Thank you. And Brendan, thank you very much as well, Brendan Cox.
Thank you.
Time now is 7:30.
That applause is from students at a school whose head teacher 7 months previously had had a heart attack. Nick Sheeran, you see him there, and his really happy pupils. His life was saved by quick-thinking colleagues, and they were able to help because a defibrillator had been installed in the school. And it was all part of moves by the Oliver King Foundation. It's a wonderful story. We're going to bring it to you around 8:15.
It is a story that's really well worth hearing. Time now to get the news, travel and weather where you are.
Good morning from BBC London. I'm Victoria Hollins. The NHS is to start a new polio vaccination campaign in London schools for under 11s over fears that uptake is still lagging behind the rest of the country. Check on the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Good morning. It's a dry and bright start this morning with some sunshine, but it is going to be another unsettled day with some heavy, blustery showers. Low pressure to the West UK driving these fronts through, where we're likely to wake up to a frost on Monday morning.
OK, that's it. Do have a look at our website for all the latest news, all the BBC News app as well, of course, and we will see you in half an hour. Bye-bye.
Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Naga, Munchetty and Charlie Stayt.
Time now is 7:34. The Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer says he'll halve levels of violence against women and girls within a decade of his party taking office if he's elected.
He also pledged to raise confidence in the police following that damning report into the Metropolitan Service by Baroness Casey. Let's speak to the Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, who's in Stoke ahead of Sir Keir's speech later today. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Yvette Cooper. Halving the levels of violence against women and girls. How? Yvette Cooper, thank you very much for your time this morning. Yvette Cooper is the Shadow Home Secretary.
Thanks, Charlie.
18 minutes to 8. Good morning to you. What is happening at Manchester United,
Good
Mike?
question.
I have no idea.
It's all up in the air.
I thought this would be straightforward in terms of bids, but
well, Manchester United fans have been getting very excited all week. I've been on a few of their forums to see what their reaction has been to the potential hitting the jackpot takeover of two of the main bidders, and talk of, $2 billion to spend on players and management over 3 years if one of the big takeovers went through. And then suddenly last night it's all up for grabs again. Uncertainty.
Because there was a deadline of
9 o'clock
sorts. 9 o'clock last night. But was it a real deadline, or was it
Well, there was talk the deadline had been met, but then it came out that, oh no, we haven't actually got any bid. This was in New York. The people expecting the bids to come in New York said, no, actually the two main bidders, and the goals are smaller at least, aren't they?
Surely in your wide and varied career you've done that, haven't you?
I have.
Oh, I thought you might.
Yeah.
I thought you might.
Pelted.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm spotting a sunrise.
Oh, yeah.
To change the subject quickly.
We're being spoilt by Matt this morning with some glorious pictures. Morning.
I do spoil it though straight afterwards, don't I? But
Well,
yes.
you're standing in front of it, yes.
Ooh, fighting talk. Thank you very much, Naga. Good morning. Yes, we have a little bit of sunshine across the country this morning. Beautiful start today for some of you. If you're about to head out the door, just be wary, because take a look at this other weather watcher shot from Cumbria. Different sort of skies. It's going to be one of those days again where we see the cloud bubble up, and some of you will see a few downpours head your way by Sunday. Naga, Charlie, back to you.
Matt, thanks very much. See you later on.
See you then.
Now, a new series of Race Across the World began on BBC One last night. It's the programme where 5 teams have to travel vast distances without the usual mod cons like smartphones, credit cards. Oh, and they're not allowed to use any flights.
This time they're trying to cross Canada, big country, from Vancouver in the west to St John's in the east. That is a very long way.
Yeah. Let's see how they got on.
Totally oblivious.
Well, you have spoiled nothing about what is coming up, because let's not forget this is a competition as well. So we'll see how you fared. But the first episode was yesterday. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming.
No, thank you.
Race Across the World is on BBC One on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. And, of course, because it was on last night, you can catch up with the first episode and future ones on the iPlayer.
We were just asking the question then about little things that people do, noises, particularly the snoring we just heard about. There are other sounds. Are we going to talk about chewing now? Are we?
Let's go.
Okay.
It actually does make me... Mixed with someone it makes my neck do that.
That didn't, to me, that actually didn't sound like...
Oh, don't. We don't need to play it again. Come on, it's annoying.
Can we just make it a little louder?
If you find it really, really annoying, or you could even feel panicky, you may have a condition called misophonia. It afflicts around 1 in 5 of us, according to a new study. We're going to talk to the researchers behind this at 10 to 9. So send in your noises, or let us know the noises you don't like. You can tweet, email, send us a message on WhatsApp. The number is 0330 123 0440, or you can scan that QR code. And if you were hearing that annoying...
Yeah, see, I don't do that routinely. You know, that drumming... You know, do you do... Have you got what? I bet you do something, don't you? Click fingers? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't recognise
You don't know it yourself, that's the problem. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are annoying.
But I don't do that particular thing.
Time to get the news, travel and weather where you are.
Thank you very much.
Good morning from BBC London. I'm Victoria Hollins. The NHS is to start a new polio vaccination campaign in London's schools for under 11s over fears that uptake is still lagging behind the rest of the country. And the weather? Today we'll see a fine start to the day with plenty of sunshine. Cloudier with showers by the afternoon, turning to longer spells of rain in the afternoon. A maximum temperature of 14 degrees. OK, that's it. We're back in half an hour. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie Stayt and Naga Munchetty.
Our headlines today. Fighting for his political career, Boris Johnson swears he didn't lie to Parliament over Partygate.
Good morning. Is the cost of borrowing set to rise again? The Bank of England is expected to increase interest rates later today after food prices caused inflation to climb unexpectedly.
Good morning. Late drama in the race to buy Manchester United as the two main bidders ask for more time and get the deadline extended, while several new suitors do get their bids in on time.
Back to school, the head teacher whose life was saved by the defibrillator he bought to protect his pupils.
And whilst it's a sunny start to the day for some of you, there will be some showers around and even some longer spells of the rain in the south later. I'll have your full forecast here on Breakfast.
Good morning, it's Thursday the 23rd of March. Our main story this morning, Boris Johnson's political future hangs in the balance after he was questioned by MPs investigating whether he misled Parliament over lockdown parties in Downing Street.
During a 3-hour session, the former Prime Minister repeatedly denied lying to the Commons about events in Number 10 and insisted that he believed at the time the gatherings were necessary for work purposes. Our political correspondent Helen Catt has more. Timing is everything, Nick, as you well know. It's time to say goodbye now. Thank you very much.
Planned rail strikes in March and April have been called off. RMT union members who work on 14 train companies are set to walk out on Thursday and Friday of next week. The Rail Delivery Group, which represents train companies, welcomed the move and said it's now focused on working constructively towards a settlement.
Some news we've received just in the last few minutes from West Midlands Police.
A man will appear in court today charged with the attempted murders of 2 men who were set on fire after leaving mosques.
Mohammed Abka, who is 28 years old, will appear at Birmingham Magistrates Court charged with an attack in Edgbaston 3 days ago and an incident in Ealing, West London, last month.
He's alleged to have sprayed a substance on the men before setting them alight. That news just coming to us in the last few minutes.
8 minutes past 8 is the time. The head of the social media app TikTok is expected to give evidence to the US Congress today over security concerns.
Shou Ji-Chu is likely to face a barrage of questions on TikTok's relationship with the Chinese state, what data it collects and what it does with it. Our North American technology correspondent James Clayton has more.
Investigators are trying to work out what caused a ship to tip over in Edinburgh, injuring 35 people, 8 of whom remain in hospital. The research vessel Petrel was in dry dock in Leith when it became dislodged from its holding and slipped to a 45-degree angle. The Health and Safety Executive said investigations into the cause are ongoing.
A Scottish Parliamentary Committee has found serious failings in the way a contract to build 2 ferries was awarded. Among the problems identified by the panel was the decision of the Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon to prematurely announce the shipyard Ferguson's as the preferred bidder. The committee said taxpayers and island communities had been badly let down by the project.
The Prince of Wales has visited British troops near the Ukrainian border. Prince William is on an official 2-day visit to Poland, which continues today when he will meet the Polish president. His trip to meet the troops in the southeast was kept secret for security reasons until he returned to Warsaw.
Those are the main stories. We're going to have a look at the weather with Matt. Matt, cast your eye over the scene outside our building here at Salford Quays. Looks very calm, doesn't it? Looks a very calm scene, that's what I'll say.
There's some ripples there. I can see some ripples, bit of a breeze.
There's someone rowing. We often see rowers out there. I suppose the contrast is, Matt, though, the brilliant pictures you've offered us all morning. I mean, we tried to raise you, but we just couldn't this morning. We often can with that view, but not today.
I've got a bigger pool to dredge. Some wonderful Weather Watcher shots of sunshine this morning. Another one from Cornwall. Very good morning to you. This is from Porth. Some pretty choppy seas again out towards the southwest. Still got some high tides on the go at the moment and strong to gale force winds whipping. Not immune to the downpours. This weekend it does turn cooler, particularly on Sunday. Naga, Charlie, back to you both.
Thanks, Matt. See you later.
See you there.
There you go, 8:15. Time now for a tale about a primary school teacher who considers himself the luckiest head teacher alive.
Yeah, there's a very good reason. It's Nick Sheeran we're talking about. Suffered a heart attack at school 7 months ago, but his colleagues were able to bring out a life-saving defibrillator in less than a minute.
And this is because Nick's school in Birkdale, Merseyside, had previously received a visit from Mark King. Now, Mark King has spent the last 11 years getting heart defibrillators installed in schools and sports centres in memory of his son, Oliver. John Maguire can explain all.
There is so much to love about that story, isn't there? And,
yes.
you know, we followed that campaign closely, and you always think, when will be the time when, it's used and someone's life is saved? There is exactly a perfect example.
And on a really trivial note, I loved the band name, ABCD.
Yeah.
Based on, obviously, fabulous, and the kids loving it. And we've had some really lovely feedback to running that report this morning. Nick's wife, Jo, has just said, "My lovely husband will never be able to thank you enough, the OK Foundation, the incredible team of people throughout the NHS who gave us him back." So just thanking the Oliver King Foundation and, of course, all those staff who brought him back to health to be able to get him back on stage to entertain the children.
Yeah, it's Liverpool Heart and Chest Hospital as well. And the other thing that's lovely about that, of course, is hearing directly from the other teachers, the other staff there, who were in that moment, that everyone kind of worries about what would you do, could you cope? And they said, absolutely, well, you've got the information, you've got the equipment, you can do it.
21 minutes past 8 is the time. OK, so at midday today, we'll get a decision from the Bank of England on interest rates. And counter to more recent expectations, Hannah, morning to you, it is now predicted that we're going to see a rise in interest rates when we thought kind of there was some hope that we were settling down on that front.
Yes, 48 hours ago, we would have been having a very, very different conversation. But that all changed yesterday. Let's have a look at why. It's a tricky balancing act for the Bank of England at the moment. Last month, they predicted that the rate at which prices are rising had peaked. But of course, yesterday, we learned that inflation unexpectedly rose to 10.4% in February. That's a near 40-year high. We'll get the decision at midday today, but in the meantime, there's more about how the changes to interest rates will affect you and how to get help with the rising cost of living on our website at bbc.co.uk/news, where you'll find a section called Cost of Living, Tackling It Together. I think the thing, Naga and Charlie, is a lot of people don't spend their lives thinking about what the Bank of England base rate is or interest rates. But when it hits you, it can really, really hit you. And even if you just consider mortgages, there will be more than 1.5 million people this year renegotiating who will be affected by the kinds of decisions that are being made today.
Because they're going to see potentially massive jumps on their payments. Hannah, thanks very much.
So breakfast on, of course, BBC One until 9:15. What happens then, you're asking? Morning Live takes over is the question. It's always good, isn't it, to give them information. Hannah and Gethin are there. Look at that.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do today, actually. Just following on from that, the cost of living crisis is at the top of our menu too. A fresh wave of soaring bills is set to hit millions of households on the 1st of April, with just over a week to go. Our consumer chap, Matt Allwright, has last-minute hacks to help you save money.
Yes, I've created a 5-point plan to tackle rising bills. I'll tell you how regular meter readings, scrapping unused subscriptions and requesting a water meter could keep cash in your pocket.
Plus, March is Ovarian Cancer Month, a disease that sadly kills 11 people a day. Dr. Poonam has the signs to look out for, as early detection is key.
Yes, only 1 in 5 women know that persistent bloating means something could be wrong. I've got lots of reassuring advice, including why some ovarian pain can be normal.
And we're dropping in on the brand new medics from BBC drama Casualty. We're heading live behind the scenes to chat to actors Barney Walsh, Sarah Sigari and Eddie Joe Robinson to find out what it's like scrubbing up for the UK's longest running medical drama.
I hope we squeeze a bit of Charlie in there. He's been on that show forever. He's got to be there.
Guaranteed.
Part of the furniture.
Charlie will be there.
There's plenty of dramatic nature on Sir David Attenborough's BBC hit Wild Isles. Look at that. That's pollen, would you believe? And it's inspiring loads of you. Our gardener, Mark Lane's answering your questions that have come flooding in, including the best pet-friendly plants and how to outshine your neighbours with the tallest sunflowers.
Just that. Yeah.
We're competitive. See you at 9:15.
Thanks very much, guys. Sounds great. Have a good one.
See you in a bit.
Bye.
Time now to get the news, travel and the weather where you are.
Good morning from BBC London. I'm Victoria Hollins. The NHS is to start a new polio vaccination campaign in London schools for under 11s over fears that uptake is still lagging behind the rest of the country. Minor delays. OK, that takes us to a check on the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Good morning. It's a dry and bright start this morning with some sunshine, but it is going to be another unsettled day where we're likely to wake up to a frost on Monday morning.
Surprise? OK, that's it. Do have a look at our website for all the latest news, bbc.co.uk/London. Or, of course, you can get the latest on the BBC News app as well. And we're back in half an hour. Bye-bye.
Hello, good morning. You're watching Breakfast with Charlie Stayt and Naga Munchetty.
Time now is 8:32. Thousands of Scottish women who were forced to give up their babies for adoption because they were unmarried have received an official government apology.
In one of her last acts as First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon said the mothers had been living through a nightmare of shame and grief. Our correspondent, Duncan Kennedy, has followed the women's campaign for recognition and an apology. Dr. Michael Lambert, it's been really interesting talking to you. Thank you so much for your time with us on the sofa.
Thank you very much.
Time now is 8:41. Mike's got all the sport for us today. What have you got?
Morning.
Good morning. Well, the anxious wait for Manchester United fans goes on rather unexpectedly as well because the race to buy the club is wide open again. And it's no longer about just the two main parties. For so long, it had looked as though the new investment would come from either the Qatari banker Sheikh Yassim or the Ineos owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe, both with world record reported bids believed to be in the region of around £5 billion. And with boxing, you know, they like a bit of a sideshow, don't they? The out of the ring drama is almost as big as the drama in it.
Yes.
And so you wouldn't be surprised if that dead duck was at one point revived. They've got until April the 1st to finally agree to the fight. So the duck may still have some life in it yet.
Anything else you want to say about the duck?
No.
No.
No. Okay. No, because I'm quite interested in this next story you've got. 'Cause it says
yeah.
some startling figures,
You
actually.
would be.
Because you maybe have seen it. The story is about footballers and when they travel in planes, even over short distances. Have you witnessed this? You know, that whole teams getting on planes just to go a few hundred miles?
Absolutely. It seems pretty common. It has been for a long time. I remember, in the past. Managers have talked about this and, you know, the comforts, maybe not cramped on a coach or worrying about trains being delayed or cancelled. That's
the detail. Thanks, Mike. The details part of a BBC investigation. It's just looked at how many times these kind of flights over quite short distances are taking place for Premier League's commitments to being environmentally sustainable.
Our sports editor, Dan Rowan, has more. Brilliant one from an anonymous viewer. Possibly they're trying to spare their pets' blushes because they say the dog licking himself. The sound of that is unbearable.
Thank you very much.
Jane, thank you. Good luck. You're watching Breakfast. It's 8:59.
Thursday morning, how's the weather looking? Matt, what have you got for us?
Another brilliant picture. Gorgeous blue skies.
I know, it's looking absolutely spectacular there for a Thursday March morning for some. Very good morning to this, of course, Aberdeenshire, eastern coast of Scotland. A noticeable chill compared to what we have at the moment, and there'll be some wintry showers across the north. That's how it's looking. Enjoy your Thursday. Back to you both.
Did you manage to get out of the Sunday morning shift? I remember I always used to end up working them.
I always have done, and so far, I'm not doing it this week.
We'll see.
Let's get that changed.
We'll see.
It could change.
The person in front of the
I've done it
roses is taking a close look now, Matthew. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your week.
too.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Let's have a look now at this morning's main stories. Boris Johnson's political future hangs in the balance after he was questioned by MPs investigating whether he misled Parliament over lockdown parties in Downing Street.
During a 3-hour session, the former Prime Minister repeatedly denied lying to the Commons about events at Number 10 and insisted he believed at the time the gatherings were necessary for work purposes.
Planned rail strikes in March and April have been called off. RMT union members who work at 14 train companies were set to walk out. This was on Thursday and Friday of next week. The Rail Delivery Group, which represents train companies, welcomed the move and said it's now focused on working constructively towards a settlement.
A 28-year-old man will appear in court today charged with the attempted murders of 2 men who were set on fire after leaving mosques. Mohammed Abka will appear at Birmingham Magistrates Court, charged with an attack in Edgbaston 3 days ago and an incident in Ealing, West London, last month. He's alleged to have sprayed a substance on the men before setting them alight.
The head of the social media app TikTok is expected to give evidence to the US Congress today over security concerns. Shou Ji-chu is likely to face a barrage of questions on TikTok's relationship with the Chinese state, what data it collects and what it does with it. The app has already been banned on government-owned devices in the US and the UK and many EU states due to privacy and security concerns.
Investigators are trying to work out what caused a ship to tip over in Edinburgh, injuring 35 people, 8 of whom remain in hospital. The research vessel Petrel was in dry dock in Leith when it became dislodged from its holding and slipped to a 45-degree angle. The Health and Safety Executive said investigations into the cause are ongoing.
A Scottish Parliamentary Committee has found serious failings the way a contract to build 2 ferries was awarded. Among the problems identified by the panel was the decision of the Scottish First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, to prematurely announce the shipyard Ferguson's as the preferred bidder. The committee said taxpayers and island communities have been badly let down by the project.
The Prince of Wales has visited British troops near the Ukrainian border. Prince William is on an official 2-day visit to Poland, which continues today when he'll meet the Polish president. His trip to meet the troops in the southeast was kept secret for security reasons until he returned to Warsaw.
We'll be speaking to the best-selling author Harlan Coben in just a couple of minutes.
Let's take a brief look at the headlines wherever you are this morning.
Good morning from BBC London. I'm Victoria Hollins. The NHS is to start a new polio vaccination campaign in London schools for under 11s over fears that uptake is still lagging behind the rest of the country. And that takes us a last look at the weather. Today we'll see a fine start, plenty of sunshine, cloudier with showers by the afternoon, these turning to longer spells of rain in the afternoon. Windy too, with a maximum temperature of 14 degrees. OK, that's it. There's plenty more on our website. We're back at lunchtime. Enjoy your morning. Bye-bye.
Now, if you love a thriller, then you've almost certainly read one of Harlan Coben's books. He's written 35 novels and sold around 80 million copies around the world.
The most recent has just been published. It's called I Will Find You. It sounds quite sinister when you say it like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has that feel about it.
I
will
Neeson
find
vibe
you.
right there, doesn't it, when you said it? Thank you.
The Liam Neeson thing. Did you have that in your
mind?
mind?
No, I didn't until you just said that now, but thanks.
It does have that feel. Yeah. I'm always careful about what we say about the plot of a book, because people haven't read it yet. They might want to. But by way of a kind of put it out there moment, what can you give us?
And this time we really got our dream cast.
Look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, sounds great.
It's been lovely talking to you.
Nice
I know you're
talking to you
travelling all around, and you have been. So thank you so much for taking time to sit with us on the sofa.
Thanks.
Do you want to do the title this time and see if it sounds any less sinister?
Harlan's latest book is called I Will Find You.
That sounds better.
Do you think? That's it for breakfast tomorrow. Back tomorrow at 6 a.m.
Now it's time for Morning Live with Helen and Gethin.
That was good. She nailed that.
When I say I will find you, it just sounds comedy when
Yeah.
Nigel says it. Anyway, coming up on Morning Live, with just over a week to go until millions of household bills soar, our consumer champ, Matt Allwright, has his 5-point plan to help you tackle the price hikes.
Plus, with 11 women dying each day of ovarian cancer, Dr. Poonham's showing why bloating for more than 4 weeks means it's time to see a doctor.
And we've got an appointment with the latest medics starting a shift at Holby City Hospital ahead of their debut in the longest-running medical drama Casualty.
Hello, welcome to Morning Live on Thursday with me and Helen. News this morning that the Bank of England is expected to announce a rise in interest rates at noon today in an attempt to reduce inflation. You will have seen this on BBC Breakfast yesterday. It unexpectedly jumped to 10.4%, adding more pressure to prices at the tills.
We've been to Bury Market to find out if you've noticed a difference to your weekly shop, and we'll be hearing about that in about 10 minutes. To help us combat the effect of some of those price rises, Matt's here to help alongside Dr. Poonham and our resident gardener, Mark Lane. Morning all.
Good morning. Always a pleasure to see you. Mark, you've been busy. You've been looking through the Morning Live inbox the last week, haven't you?
I
What
have.
did you find in there?
It's really lovely because after sort of Wild Isles with Sir David Attenborough, all the people are getting really behind and inspired about wildlife, which is absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to be looking at pollen as well as pet-friendly plants.
Yeah, also Dr. Poonham's son Arish is a massive, massive Mark Lane fan, and he has a brilliant question about sunflowers on the show as well. We'll do that in a bit.
Classic proud mum then, Dr. Poonham. And you should be proud because he is a delight. Also today, in 20 minutes, Matt's helping Dr. Oscar, who lives with sight loss, test out some groundbreaking glasses that tell you what you're seeing. It is brilliant tech that could transform the lives of 2 million people in the UK who live with sight loss. It's really impressive kit, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, and it helps me to see what Oscar's seeing so I can help him describe what he's seeing. And that feeling of being an ally and being able to help him, something that he may be struggling with, is super powerful. It was such an honour to do it, genuinely.
Fascinating. It's wow technology. We are one big team, and Karen is a part of that. Been doing Strictly Fitness all week, putting a spring in our step.
Yes.
What's going on today, Karen?
Well, I have an upper body workout today, but most fantastically, amazingly, we have some arm rolls right there by OT and Bill. Fantastic.
You can never get enough of this stuff. Look at Bill. He's in his element, isn't he?
It's
The champ. Good.
just makes you smile, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Watching Bill dance. That'll be us later.
Yeah, I don't know if we make people smile, but we hope people get involved too. That's the main thing. It's not just the energy in the studio. Growing up with Strictly Fitness later, we've been hearing for weeks that lots of our household bills are going to soar from the 1st of April.
And now, with just over a week to go, Matt's got his last-minute tips to help save cash. Before we start, though, Paul has been in touch to say, after you discussed broadband 2 weeks ago, he reduced his monthly cost from £73.50 to £45. Paul even told his mate, who's now saving £20 a month, so well done.